All right. We are now live streaming. So let's begin. Om Ganatimirandhasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So we're continuing Brahma Samhita chapter 5 with verse 5. Last week in verses 3 and 4, we began discussing Dham Tattva, and verse 5 continues with a very detailed description of the Dham. So this goes into a lot of detail, actually, and some of it is not described elsewhere. So this is worth delving into. Chaturasram tatparita shvetadvipakyam adbhutam chaturasram chaturmurtesh chaturdhama chatushkritam chaturbhi purushartaischa chaturbhir hetubhir vritam shuleirdashabhiranadham urdhadho digvidikshvapi Ashtabhir-nidibhir-jushtam, ashtabhi-siddhibhistata, manurupaischa dashabhir-dikpalai parito vritam, shamair-gauraischa raktaischa, shuklaischa parshadarshabhai, shobhitam shaktibhistabhir, adbhutabhi samantataha. The identity of Gokul's surrounding area is being presented. In the four directions beyond Gokul lies a wonderful four-cornered place called Shvetadvip. Shvetadvip is divided into four sections in the four directions, and each section is the abode of one of the presiding deities, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. These four abodes are adorned with the four objectives of life, namely religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, and the causes of those four objectives, namely the four Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, which are composed of mantras. They are surrounded in 8 directions and above and below by 10 lances. So there's a lot of numbers and geometry being described. And yes, we're going to explain everything and what it means. The 8 directions are ornamented with the 8 jewels known as Mahapadma, Padma, Shankha, Makara, Kachapa, Mukunda, Kunda, and Nila. 10 guardians in the form of mantras are present in the 10 directions, which are all beautified by blackish, golden, red, and white associates of Bhagavan, along with the host of wondrous potencies headed by Vimla. So there is an awful lot to unpack here. And we start with the Tika, the commentary of Srila Jiva Goswami. One thing that comes up a lot is there are a lot of references to the 10 directions. So the 10 directions means north, northwest, west, southwest, south, southeast, east, and northeast. That makes 8. And then up and down gives us 10 directions. So 10 directions is often referred to in this way. So let's now go through the Tika, and there's a lot that is explained here. So after describing Gokul, its surrounding area is now being described in 4 verses. So this is basically one verse number 5, but it has four parts to it. So this is all just one verse here, and it happens to have a lot of parts to it. Beyond Gokul, there is an exceedingly miraculous four-cornered abode called Shvetadvip. Although only Shvetadweep is mentioned here, one should also understand it to be Goloka. Actually, Shvetadweep is also a term for Gokul. So this can be a little bit confusing. So think of it this way. Golok Vrindavan is the inner part of Golok. Golok is the largest of the Vaikuntha planets. It is also called Krishna Loka. And within that Golok, there is an inner part which is sometimes referred to as Gokul. And Gokul also is the name of Vrindavan when it is manifest on the earthly plane. It is that inner part of Golok Vrindavan that is manifest on the earthly plane when Sri Krishna comes to exhibit his wonderful human-like pastimes once in a day of Brahmaji. So that is the Madhurya Dham. Now, Shvetadweep here, and there are a few different contexts in which Shvetadweep is understood. But first of all, Shvetadweep is also a term for Gokul, but everything is within Shvetadweep, but this is also the outer part of Goloka Vrindavan. So remember that Gurudev would describe, for example, that Putana got the gati of being like the nursemaid of Krishna, and she went to reside in the outer part of Goloka, not Goloka Vrindavan, but in Goloka. And that is called Shvetadweep. That's what's being described here. So there is a special naming, and it indicates that all the locations are within the jurisdiction of Shvetadweep. And the interior region is Vrindavan. So Gurudev would sometimes say, Goloka Vrindavan. Goloka Vrindavan means that inner part. And there's a very important distinction here. In the outer part of Goloka, Krishna is doing pastimes in his two-handed form, and he plays on the flute, but there is awareness of Krishna's Bhagavata, his godhood. Okay, but this is not present in the inner part in Goloka Vrindavan because it is predominated by Madhurya or sweetness. And that Aishwarya, how would the gopis be able to chastise Krishna? And how would the elderly gopis complain about Krishna doing naughty activities if they are thinking, oh, Krishna is Bhagavan. Everything belongs to him. We are so blessed to have him come and break our pots and smear butter everywhere. No, no. They see, oh, Yashoda, your son is so naughty. You know what he did today. Let me tell you. He came into my house and he took a stick and he broke a butter pot that was hanging. And when the butter dripped down, it made a mess all over the floor. And then, to make matters worse, he was feeding it to his friends and feeding the monkeys and the crows. These are so sweet pastimes, and they are also tasting the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes. And Yashoda Maya is hearing their loving complaints that are so full of sweetness. But this sweetness, it is incapable of being understood by materialistic persons. So it is wrapped in layers of confidentiality. For mundane people, they will be always pointed to this outer part of Golok Vrindavan. It is the bow down mister part of Golok, the Shvetadweep. Yes, Krishna is Bhagavan. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is performing his rasa dance. It is the rasa dance of the supreme personality of Godhead, the supreme enjoyer. And you are his eternal servant. So this is must be given, first of all, this must be understood by any newcomer. They must leave any kind of envy or bad assumptions at the gate if they want to enter into the loving mood of devotional service, bhakti. So there are many different names that are used, and this can sometimes be confusing. But when we are trying to qualify a specific part of Golok, we will say Golok Vrindavan, because Golok Vrindavan means the Nitya Dham, the eternal abode that is predominated by sweetness, that is the inner part of Golok. Now, does that mean it's small? No, it is vast. The uh, according to the Brahma Vaivarta Puran, Golok Vrindavan is approximately, um, I think, about 1 billion yojanas, about 8 billion miles in diameter. That is just the inner part. And then the outer part is bigger. The dimensions of Golok Vrindavan are given as, I think, something like 100 billion yojanas. It is so vast. It is like bigger than if you took all of the material universes and put them together, they would still be smaller than Golok. It is the largest of the Vaikuntha planets. And this gives you an idea of what is the scale of Vaikuntha. Of course, trying to give a measurement, it is actually one of the 10 Dhammaparadhs to think that one can measure the holy Dham. Why? Oh, people want to think, I will measure the Dham, I will buy a piece of the Dham, I will sell a piece of the Dham. No, you can never own a piece of Dham. You cannot sell a piece of Dham. And it is aparad to think that way. Dham is a manifestation of Sandhini Shakti. It is completely spiritual, and it is all meant for the enjoyment of Sri Krishna in connection with his supremely loving devotees. So, Shvetadweep here, and when we say Shvetadweep, we are often referring to this outer part of Golok. Now, there is also a Shvetadweep in Gokul, in the inner part, and that is described separately. What is that Shvetadweep? That Shvetadweep is the Nitya Dham, which becomes manifest in this world as Navadweep Dham. So Gora Lila is going on also in a place called Shvetadweep, which is not different from Gokula Vrindavan in the eternal spiritual realm. But that Shvetadweep is different from the outer Shvetadweep. So we have to always be aware of the context here. Shvetadweep also refers to a Vaikuntha place within this material world, which is within the milk ocean, but it is actually a manifestation of Vaikuntha where Bhagavan Vishnu is lying on Anantashesh, and where Brahmaji and the demigods go and they will offer prayers to Lord Vishnu there. They will offer prayers like Hari Om Sahasra Sirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapare Sabhumim Vishvato Vritpatyatishta Dashangulam, using Vedic mantras and hymns from the Vedas. And oh Lord, you are with 1,000 hands and 1,000 feet and 1,000 mouths, and you are all pervading this entire universe. We bow down to you and offer prayers at your lotus feet. That is also Shvetadweep, completely different from the Shvetadweep, which is the outer part of Golok, and the Shvetadweep, which is non-different from Gokula Vrindavan, and which is the Nitya Dham of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, of Sri Gaura Sundara. I know this can sound a little confusing, but you can think of it according to the context. Now, it is described as a quadrilateral realm, and there are, Srila Jiva Goswami has given different quotations from Vaishnava Tantra like Swayambhuva Agama. Um, And it is said that one should remember Sri Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavanam kusumatam nana vrikshayar vihangamai samsmarit. And in the personified Vedas, and the personified Vedas are offering prayers to Bhagavan, both in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and 87th chapter, as well as in the Vamana Purana. And they are praying, we want to see that abode which is called Anandamaya Dham. And then they were given a vision of Gokul. They were given darshan of Gokul. Now, beyond Vrindavan, beyond the inner part of Golok Vrindavan, there is this four-cornered area called Shvetadweep. And this is the outer part of Golok. This is the part where there is awareness of the opulence. Now, there are abodes of the Chaturvyuha, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. But Srila Jiva Goswami has described here that they are situated in aircraft above because they are performing pastimes that manifest their Aishwarya or divine opulence. And it is said Hetubir means they reign along with Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, and they are decorated with the guardians of the 10 directions, headed by Indra, who are present in the form of their respective mantras. Now, there's a question that comes up. How is it that we are describing the spiritual world and Indra is present? Because Indra is a post. Indra is a position. Some very highly qualified living entity occupies the post of Indra. Now, what's the qualification for becoming Indra? Oh, you only have to do 100 Ashwamedha yagyas. How hard is it to do an Ashwamedha yagya? Oh boy, you have to collect a mountain of gold. You have to basically let a horse run free for a year. You have to basically be emperor of the whole world. Some of these are very hard things to do. And 100 perfectly done Ashwamedha yagyas, that person gets to become Indra. Now, Indra is a manifestation of Indra who is present in Vaikuntha. Just like Ganeshji, Ganapati is a manifestation of Vishvaksena, one of the eternal associates of Narayan in Vaikuntha. Anyway, so this has been described here by Srila Jiva Goswami, that Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, they are on the four sides of the square outer part called Shvetadweep, but they are in airplanes above. And when we say aircraft, we're not talking about like, oh, it's the 747, it has to land and get refueled and de-iced before it can take off again. No, these are divine floating palace places, because there is, even though we say in the outer part of Goloka, there is awareness of Krishna's opulence, of Krishna's Bhagavata, his godhood, that is covered in the inner part of Goloka Vrindavan. It is covered by sweetness. And Gurudev gave the example, if you have 1 cup of sugar and 1 cup of salt, then you will taste the sugar and you will also taste the salt. But I can have more salt. I could have 2 cups of salt, but if I have 100 cups of sugar, you will not taste the salt at all. All you will taste is sweetness. And this is the status of Goloka Vrindavan. There is so much sweetness that even though there is more opulence in 1 grain of the dust of Vrajadham, there is more opulence and more knowledge than in all of the worlds and all of the Vaikuntha planets. But it is covered by sweetness, and sweetness is predominating. So there is Audarya and Madhurya are both present, but Madhurya predominates. So There are 16 potencies headed by Bimala Devi, and Bimala Devi has also joined us today. Very good. So this is stated in Lagu Bhagavatamrita. Shrir Bhu Kirtirila Lila Kantir Vidheti Saptakam Bimaladha Navehyeta Mukhya Shodashashaktaya. The 16 potencies are Shri, Bhu, Lila, Kanti, Kirti, Tushti, Gi, Pushti, Satya, Jnana, Jnana, Jaya Utkarshini, Vimala, Yogamaya, Prahvi, Ishana, and Anugraha. Now, again, there are Shaktis that are described, and then Bimala Shakti is also comes in this world as Annapurna Devi as well. But there is the original Bimala Devi, who is one of the 16 potencies of Shri Hari who are present. Nam Namakari Bahudha Nij Sarva Shaktis. When it is said Sarva Shaktis and all Shaktis are given in the holy name, there are unlimited Shaktis of Bhagavan, but they are all manifestations of Swarup Shakti. So we're describing this planet called Golokadham. And now there is also a description given in Srimad Bhagavatam. So when Nanda Maharaj returned to Vraja from Varunaloka, what happened? Okay, Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men, they went to do a jagaran, a vigil to stay up all night. They had, they were sitting outside. They had built a fire and they were keeping a vigil as a vrat. And it was time to bathe. And Nanda Baba went to bathe in the Yamuna, but it was still at a time when it is forbidden to bathe. So he was captured. This was actually a pretext. He was captured by the servants of Varuna and he was brought to Vibhavari, the abode of Varunadev. And Varunadev, when Krishna heard this, of course, Nanda Baba has been arrested by the servants of Varunadev. He immediately went there. Of course, this is the whole reason why Varunadev kidnapped Nanda Baba, because he wanted to have darshan of Sri Krishna. So Krishna went to Varunadev. Varunadev got darshan of Krishna, and of course, Nanda Baba was able to go free. But in the meantime, Nanda Baba witnessed all of the devas came and with folded hands, they were offering prayers to his darling son Krishna. And Nanda Baba is, what is this? Why are these devas addressing Krishna as Bhagavan? How is it possible? He is a naughty kid who pulls the tails of the calves, and then when they run, he is holding on to their tails and going through the mud and doing naughty things. And he goes and breaks butter pots and does so much naughty activities. How are they calling him God? It is mind blowing. So it is said that once the Brajabasis, Nanda Baba came back and he was telling other Brajabasis, because Braja is all about telling. You know what happened? Let me tell you. I'm going to tell you something that happened. Let me tell you. Oh, no, listen, I will tell you something. It is all gossip, but all that gossip is centered around Krishna. So this is the nature of village life. There is always something to talk about. It is Krishna who is in the center, and all that gossip, all that news is all about Krishna. And all of the love of the Brajabasis is for Krishna. So Nanda Baba was telling all the other Brajabasis, you know what, this is what happened? I was there in the abode of Varunadev, and all of these devatas came and they were offering prayers to Krishna. What is that? How is that possible? They were curious, they were amazed, and they were wondering, can Krishna actually be the supreme controller Parameshwar? And then they began to request him to show his incomparable transcendental abode. Then Swayam Bhagavan Krishna understood the desire of the cowherds, and out of compassion, he began to think about how to fulfill their desires. Oh, these are my near and dear family members. So Krishna gave the Gopas a vision of his own realm, which is situated beyond the material nature. And this realm is transcendental and immeasurable and self-effulgent. Now, sometimes this is a point of controversy. Sri Krishna took the Gopas to a place called Brahmarada, which is where Akrura also had darshan of that supreme abode after immersing himself in the water. So you remember that Akrura took Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, and he stopped to bathe. Krishna and Balaram entered the water, and Akrura had darshan of Baladev as Ananta Shesh and Krishna as Sheshashayi Vishnu, right? This is described as the point where now Krishna remains within Vrindavan in Adrishya Roop, an unseen form, and it is Vasudev who then continues on with Sankarshan Baladev to Mathura, because Vrindavanam parityaja padam ekam nagachati. Krishna does not even take one step outside Vrindavan. So the Vrajavasis saw that Krishna was there and Vedas personified were offering prayers to him. Like personified Vedas are offering prayers like Nibrata Marun Mano Kshadrida Yoga Yujo Hridayan Munaya Upasate Tararayo Piya Yusmaranat Sriyo Ragendra Bhoga Bhajadanda Vishakta Diyo Vayamapite sama samadrishong risaroja sudha. They say, oh, you are worshipped by great yogis and sages who undergo extraordinarily hard tapasya so that they can achieve the same result as demons who are slain by you. We instead remember those gopis of Vrindavan whose minds were always distracted by being embraced by the beautiful arms of Sri Krishna, which are shaped like the bodies of the kings of serpents. We, the personified Vedas, say, aspire to become particles of dust on the lotus feet of those gopis. Now, this is a very important distinction that is made, because this is the explanation that has been given by Srila Jiva Goswami. The Brajavasis were considering how Krishna could possibly be the supreme controller, Parameshwar. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains differently and says the Brajavasis not even for a moment considered that Sri Krishna could possibly be Bhagavan, the supreme personality who is full in six opulences. The Vrajavasis' knowledge of Krishna's opulence remains covered at all times by the predominating mood of sweetness. Remember, anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karamadhyanavratam. This jnana karamadhyanavratam also means no covering, no trace of a covering of Aishwarya Gyan, knowledge of Krishna's opulence. So how is it possible that there could be such a difference? And this footnote is by Gurudev. Gurudev has himself written this in Hindi. It has been translated. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained in the verse Svechayalikitam Kinchit that he wrote certain things for unqualified persons. So for unqualified persons, it is written that, oh, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead in Vrindavan, and the Vrajavasis were considering how Krishna can be the supreme personality of Godhead, Parameshwar. Because this idea that Krishna is served by the Brajavasis without any trace of knowledge of Aishwarya, this is very confidential. It is not to be shared with persons who may be envious, who may be absorbed in material existence. Vikriditam vrajavadhubiridam cha Vishnu shraddhanvito nushrunuyad atavarnayedya bhaktim param bhagavatim pratilabhya kamam hridrogam ashvabhinoti achirena dhira. If there are persons who are dhira, who are sober, and they have with great faith and love a willingness to hear Harikatha, then all of the confidential descriptions of Rasalila can be given from the qualified speaker. That person who is qualified, who is completely absorbed in bhakti ras. So anyway, this is a very important distinction here, and this description of from Srimad Bhagavatam has been given. Even once there was some controversy with one of Gurudev's books where something had been given according to the description of Srila Jiva Goswami, but Gurudev did not want that description given in there. Only he wanted this description of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that not even for a moment do the Brajabasis ever consider that Krishna is Bhagavan. So Atindriya, it means that which has not been seen before. It was darshan of his own abode. So why did Krishna give this? Because he knew Brajabasis have complete sweetness. They do not have any sense of Aishwarya where I am concerned, but they are my very near and dear family members. They have no interest in all of this opulence stuff, gold-plated everything and jewels everywhere. No interest at all for them. It is said that Lakshmi Ji did tapasya for a very long time so that she could enter into Rasalila, because Rasalila is supremely attractive. Not only are Devi Devatas interested in witnessing Rasalila, Shankarji and Parvati want to see Rasalila, and even Lakshmi herself, Lakshmi Narayan, also are enchanted by Rasalila. And Lakshmi Ji did tapasya so she could enter into Rasalila. So then then after Lakshmi Ji had done so much tapasya, Yogamaya came and said, okay, you want to enter into Rasalila? Yes. All right, you will have to become a gopi. Okay. You will have to take cow dung and make, cow dung patties on the side of huts for cooking. Okay, okay, okay. And you will have to marry a cowherd man. Oh no. At this point, Lakshmiji could not go any farther. She could not do this. So, but for the Brajabasis, if Salokya, Sarshti, Samipya, Sarupya, what to speak of Ekatvam, Sayujya Mukti, if these four types of mukti are offered to them, they have no interest. Hey, look, I'm going to give you mukti right now, just like that. I'll hand it. No, not interested. Not interested. I only want Krishna. I want to love Krishna. I want to see Krishna. Get out of my way. You are obstructing my view of Krishna. I want to taste Krishna's name. I want to see Krishna's very sweet pastimes. And I don't know what's all this you're saying about Krishna being Bhagavan. This is called bhakti in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami. So there is no acceptance of any other knowledge or any even knowledge of Krishna's opulence. So just as the word jana is understood to mean nija jana, his own people, so the jana in the previous quoted verse about how Nanda Baba had come back from Varunalok, this is also meaning Nijajana, and we could not accept it to be referred to anyone else. So Sri Krishna considers the residents of Braja to be his very near and dear and his kith and kin, and he has personally confirmed this. that he has said, this community of cowherds is under my shelter. I am the patron of the Brajabasis. I will use my own power and prowess to protect those I have accepted as my closest family members, intimate relatives, and bosom friends. Then Sri Krishna also considers that um, even there are those in this material world who, because of ignorance, they have various destinations in higher and lower species. And the Rajavasis think of themselves also to be like ordinary persons. So they do not understand how elevated is their own situation. This is a very important thing. Brajavasis are not thinking of themselves as we are so high that personified Vedas want to take the dust of our feet. We are so high that Nadaji and Shankarji want to take the dust of our feet and worship us. They think, oh, we are just ordinary people. We are cowherd men, cowherd women, but we love Krishna with all of our hearts, everything. But for us, to understand their liberated position, this is kind of, oh, they are on the other side of the river Viraja. They are on the other side of Vaikuntha. This is the whole topic of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, how we can cross over all of the gradations of bhakti, cross over all of the gradations of dham, and discover what is beyond Vaikuntha. So, Um, but these qualities, material qualities like ignorance and self-centeredness, these can never touch the Brajavasis. It is only found on conditioned jivas. Now, this is a very important thing to understand because nowadays there are many people in Gaudiya Vaishnava community who actually have the conception it is possible for someone to be in Goloka Vrindavan and then to think, oh, what would it be like if I was the enjoyer like Krishna? And then they fall to the material world. It is not only bogus, it is an offense to Swarup Shakti. It is offense to Yoga Maya. It is an offense to our acharyas who have clearly established otherwise to think this. Because it is never possible. Only in the covering of ignorance, which is only present within this material world, and there is a special case which has been explained by our acharyas as when the parikaras, they are fulfilling a desire by Ichcha Shakti, which is part of Swarup Shakti of Sri Krishna, that Krishna will have a very qualified opponent to fight with, that they will get the curse of the four Kumaras to come in this world as enemies. So there can never be any influence of ignorance on the uh, Brajavasis. So Krishna was able to grant the Brajavasis a vision of his divine abode Goloka. And this vision is very difficult to see. It is very difficult. We cannot even envision this material world. Try to understand this. This material world, if you read the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, what does it say in Srimad Bhagavatam? There is Bhumandala planetary system, and in Bhumandala, there are these 9 islands, and they are separated by vast oceans of clear water, ghee, salt water, sugar water, liquor, milk, and yogurt. And then in the island of Jambudweep, there are mountain ranges which are 80,000 miles high. Can you picture this? Someone tried to make some rendering of this, but they have made a big blunder. It is not in our little tiny, we have like a little tiny tunnel vision of an ant we see in 3 dimensions. Devas are not limited to 3 dimensions. Krishna is not limited to 3 dimensions. Rishis are not limited to 3 dimensions. But they have given like a child's explanation. Okay, yes, it is like this because you can't get there from here. So 80,000 mile mountain range, that's the you can't get there from here. Sorry, it's a barrier you can't cross. Okay, so forget about it. It's like another world. That part of Jambudweep where Gajendra came in the valley and he was this was King Indradyumna in his next life became Gajendra. That is a place where demigods go, devas go to enjoy on the earth. You cannot get there. It's completely out of bounds. You can't see it, you can't get to it, you have no way to get to it. Only those who come Kshine Punye Matyalokam Vishanti, who have fallen after going to Swargaloka and living there for 10,000 years, they come back to this earth. That's where they land. And after a long life there, living for 1,000 years there, then they can come in the take birth in India and they will get a birth in a good family, like a Brahmin family, a yogi family, a family of wealthy persons, and they will begin from there, and they may either move up or move down. So this is the in this material world, we have not the ability even to perceive what to speak of the spiritual realm. And we get dimensions in Brahma Vaivarta Purana and so forth, how vast it is. And we try to think, we are like the frog in the well, the Kupa Manduk. The froggy in the well is trying to imagine how big is the ocean? Is it twice as big as my well? Is it 3 times as big? 10 times as big? No, maybe 100 times as big. Oh, Froggy, you have no idea. So we are the little Froggy, and we are trying to puff our chests out and imagine what the spiritual world is like. We can't even imagine what this Earth planet is like, what to speak of the spiritual realm. It is so far beyond. So Krishna gave the Brajavasis a vision of this, which is extremely difficult to see. So this is a very wonderful thing. How is it possible? And Krishna took the Brajavasis to Brahmahrada and had them dip, and he gave them darshan. And every time they dipped, they saw a different loka. So, oh, they may think, oh, wow, Krishna knows some mantras. He knows some magic tricks. He gave us by some, he must have done something. Or Yashoda Maya has done so much worship of Bhagavan Vishnu, and by her tapasya, then Krishna has gotten some siddhi, and he knows some mantras, and he can do some of these things. But they never, even for a moment, think that Krishna is Parameshwar. So this is the explanation that has been given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So then there is a description of Brahmalok. Which Brahmalok? Because Brahmalok can mean the abode of Brahmaji. It can mean the place of Mahakalapur, of the Jyoti, the Brahman effulgence of Krishna. And it also means Goloka. So in this case, Krishna gave them a vision of Goloka. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad, now we are coming to what is the description of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad. To make the Vrajavasis realize the super excellent sweetness of the eternal abode of Vrindavan, the most compassionate Sri Krishna first showed them the realm of Brahmalok, which is the realm of liberation, where the asuras will go when they are slain by Bhagavan. And then he gave them a vision of Vaikuntha Loka, which is superior to that Brahmalok. And finally, he granted them darshan of Golokadham. So they dipped and they got the vision of the Brahmalok, place of impersonal liberation. And then again they dipped and they saw the spiritual abode Vaikuntha Dham. And then they saw Golokadham. So, okay, it was the Krishna Krishna transcendental slideshow for the near and dear Brajabasis, but they still did not have any concept whatsoever that he was doing this because he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, there is also a statement that Krishna saved his devotees from the calamity of impersonal liberation and made them taste the happiness of Vaikuntha. Brahmanando bhavedesha chit parado gunikrita. And then the question, Gurudev has explained in a footnote. One may ask, how is it that Nanda Baba and the other Vrajavasis, who are all eternally liberated personalities, needed to be rescued from the calamity of impersonal liberation? The answer is that the Vrajavasis felt great distress upon seeing the situation of Kaivalya or impersonal liberation, and Krishna rescued them from that distress. They thought, oh my God, this is hell, a place that is all white light, and we cannot see the form of Krishna. This is also, if you recall, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Gopkumar has gone and he has seen the lower part of the outside of this world, there is the lower part is called Mahakalapur. It is the place where the demons go who are slain by Krishna, and yogis who aspire to merge into the Brahmajyoti also go there. And he saw that it is all homogeneous. It is all white light. And for a devotee, kaivalyam narakayate, this is considered hellish. It is a place of horrible place. Get me out of here. I cannot see the beautiful face of my Lord. In Sri Ishopanishad, it is said, Hiranmayena patrena satyasyaha pitaham mukham tattvam bhushana pavranu satya dharmaya drishtaye. Oh, my Lord, you are the maintainer of all that lives. Please remove your blindingly golden effulgence so that I can see your beautiful face. That is the prayer of the devotee. So, these are very wonderful descriptions. And they were, when the Brajavasis were unable to see the face of Krishna, then they will say, oh, where is Krishna? We don't want to be lost here in this light. And then they finally came to Goloka and they said, oh, there is Krishna. And then they came in that outer part of Goloka and they saw, ho ho, what kind of place have we come to? There are these radiant divine beings here and they are offering prayers to Krishna with reverence and hands folded. What is that? What is this? They look just like our old acquaintances, but we don't know who they are. We are also hesitant to ask. But the most surprising thing is that Krishna is in their midst and he is not expressing his mood of childhood as he did before. He is seeing his father and elder relatives, but not running to us and putting his arms around our necks. We are also feeling hesitant to go to him and take him in our laps. Why is he not feeling any hunger and thirst today? How will his mother live without feeding him? And then Krishna saw all of their reactions. And so he took them back to Vrindavan. So he gave them darshan of the Brahman. He gave them darshan of Vaikuntha Lok. He gave them vision of the outer part of Golok, Shvetadvip, and then he took them back to Braja because he saw that still they were unhappy, they were distressed. And there's an additional reference description of Brahmaloka, which is that Mahakalapur, that place where the demons killed by Krishna go to stay. And there is a description also here from Harivamsha. There is a narration regarding Indra, where Goloka is described. So there is still quite a lot, and now there is a description of Surabhilok. There is also a question. How is it that There is the sadhyas, sadhya palayanti, means that Brahmaloka is protected by the sadhyas or perfected personalities. But sadhyas are one of the demigods. There is one category of demigods called sadhyas. So how can they cannot even protect Swargalok, so how can they protect Golok? And then that is explained as well. So there is quite a lot. I think we will have to continue this fifth verse next week because it's actually quite a lot. There is so much here. Anyone have any questions at this point? You can always put questions in the chat. Otherwise, I'll end there. But I hope this has been interesting, and maybe you will also get some impetus to read this on your own. It is a very deep, intense, and intensely, you know, has a lot of philosophy in this book. So you have to sometimes read it more than once. Yeah, go on. You have a question?
Hi, Haribo.
Haribo.
Dandavat, thank you, Atul Krishna Prabhu. And I was distracted today because I had an appointment. I made it before I realized that there was this Monday 9 a.m. So, is there a recording of this? And also, it says it's being live streamed. What does that mean, other than Zoom?
It is being live streamed on YouTube, and there's a live stream on YouTube, and it's saved on YouTube.
Okay,
So I posted a link in the Gainesville Sangha on
okay,
WhatsApp. And if you follow that link, there's actually a playlist. So after the live streaming is done, then I can go in and edit, and I can just add it to the playlist. So there's actually a Brahma Samhita playlist.
okay. Good.
You
Is there
can
also the Bhagavad? I mean, the Srimad. What are you doing? You're doing Bhagavad Gita. Is that also a playlist for that in the same site on YouTube?
yes, there is. There
Okay.
is there's a playlist for like yesterday's streaming. There's another a Bhakti Discourses playlist, and it's all under the Narayana Ayurveda account.
Oh, okay. Good. Thank you so much. You're doing so much for us, and I appreciate it. I'm just trying to catch up so that I can benefit to the highest extent.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
All
Krishna.
right. Go to Haribo. Haribo.
Haribo, thank you.